Hi, I'm Eddie Burke. I've been the bartender at the Hollywood Improv for 40 years, and this is my podcast, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Hey guys, this is Eddie Burke. Welcome to Eddie's Bar at the Improv. I have a very special guest today, Mr. Danny Robinson, Senior Vice President at Agency for the Performing Arts, otherwise known as APA. And Danny's been instrumental in developing and nurturing a lot of new comics.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite thing to do for all my years, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because one of my questions for you is what made you become an agent to begin with?
Well, I started in the mailroom in New York when I was 16. It was a summer job. Mm-hmm. And the folks who were a song and dance team, and I used to be on the road with them. And then when I got to around 16, as much fun as it is being on the road, it was like, it's hard to pick up girls when you're sitting in the same room with your mother and father.
Right.
So I'd probably get a job. And so some good friends of ours, of my folks, family friends, were with a company that was called Ashley Famous at the time, which ultimately became ICM. And they said, would he want to work in the mailroom? So they called me and said, would you want to work in the mailroom? I was like, what does it pay?
You're right.
And they said, $70 a week. I went, done. Yeah.
Got it.
And I started as a messenger in the mailroom in New York. It was Ashley Famous, and just that was in high school. And I went through high school and then all through college. And I was lucky because the people that were there were really nice. And I mean, the music department, the personal appearance department, actually it was called, was right outside. And they were all not that much older than me. So, and I'm a big music nut. I always have been, and still am. And so, I mean, I could go to gigs with them. I got free records from them. It was great, and comedians too were under that heading, even though there was nowhere near the comedy scene that there is today, obviously. But there were still obviously comedians.
What year?
This was 1967, I guess, 68.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what you mentioned your parents, a dance team. I happened to have watched a video of them with Mark Lano a couple of weeks ago. I was in awe as to how wonderful they were, and not only that, how young your father looked. He had hair. It was just.
And a lot of that was fake too, but he went bald very young. But yeah, he did have hair. Yeah.
They were a very big dance team. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they used to travel with Johnny Carson and open for Johnny Carson.
They toured the country for years and worked with and opened for all of the big acts of the day, from Sinatra to Carson to you name it, Eddie Arnold. I mean, it was great. And the last 15 or so years of their career, they largely worked with Johnny. We were on the road with Johnny a lot.
How did your father segue into becoming a manager?
Well, he always had those tendencies. They had a manager when they were very early on in their career for a couple of years. But then for the rest of their career, my dad basically acted as their manager. And he always helped other people. He always had those tendencies in him. So when it got to the point where they were feeling like they, were getting too old to be America's sweetheart dance team, Doc approached him, Doc Severinsen, and said, would you manage me? Because he'd been helping Doc, and they were very close friends, forever. And so he said, yeah. So he started managing Doc while they were still dancing.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they danced for maybe about 6 more months, and it was like, it's enough.
Who else did he? I know he handled Byron Allen for a while.
Yeah, Byron, Will Schreiner, Ron Pearson, and through the years, a whole lot of people.
A whole bunch of people
Doc
like
for
that.
About 20 years, so yeah.
My memories of your father here were like, he He was probably the only person that was allowed to just sit at Bud's round table if Bud wasn't there.
Yeah, he was a fixture here.
It was like his, and again, one of the things I remember is Bud used to make all the coffee for the club at that point with cinnamon in it. And your father did not like cinnamon. Every time he would come up and go, "Can I get a fresh pot or whatever?" And obviously everybody, whoever it was, would make it for him.
Yeah.
But he was like a really personable guy and very, I don't know, just open and friendly with everybody.
Yeah, he loved everybody here. He always thought about this as this is like his Cheers, basically, before there was Cheers,
It was. He was here constantly.
Yeah.
When did you start coming here?
Well, I moved out here very, very end of 75. So right about then.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that even predates me, Danny. That's even before
That's right.
I started.
It was just before you got here. That's right.
I was thinking.
Yeah, I moved out very end of 75 from New York, and yeah.
When did you become an agent out here?
I went out here and I started. I started in the mailroom for like a few months till a desk opened up, and then I started as an assistant in the personal appearance department, music department again, and then became an agent about 70, end of 76, somewhere in that neighborhood in the music department, rock and roll. Yeah. It was then. It had just become ICM.
Okay.
So 6-8 months before.
ICM was the first agency you worked for.
Yeah, well, it was Ashley Famous, and then they became. Ted Ashley left to come out here and become head of Warner Brothers, and Marvin Josephson bought, who had a very, very small, successful agency. Captain Kangaroo was one of his big clients. He packaged that and all, and that became IFA. That was IFA for all those years, and then IFA and CMA merged and became ICM, and that's when I moved out here. When they merged, they transferred a few people out here, and a lot of things went on. And my folks had moved out here in '72 when The Tonight Show moved out, and a lot of my friends were here, and I was like, it's nice out here. I mean, I was a dyed-in-the-wool New Yorker, and I was like, the sunshine's here, it's all nice, and I got nothing that holds me here, so might as well just come on out. So the company said, well, we'll transfer you. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it works for me.
So I came out.
It's are you from New York originally?
Yeah.
Where?
Manhattan. Was home. I was born in Virginia, but raised in New York. I moved from Virginia.
Where
to
in Manhattan?
When I was
because I'm from
10
Manhattan
weeks old.
too.
Well, 58th and 6th.
Okay.
As a kid, 68th on Broadway as a teenager, and then 70th at West End when I finished college and started working. So that was always home. But with my folks being on the road, I was always in boarding schools in Westchester.
Did you ever have any inclinations of performing, of either dancing or doing stand-up?
I danced my whole life. In fact, my first paying job was dancing on the road with them.
Oh, great.
When I was 12, I want to say.
You have any videos of that?
I do have some videos.
That'd be great to see.
I do have some videos of those, but yeah, it was fun. I always enjoyed it, and I performed through high school and even into college. But I never really, I always had a good time, but I never really gave serious thought to actually performing, even though I think I always did a pretty good job, but
I'm sure you did.
And people told me I did, but I always enjoyed watching others and seeing how I could help them be better. So
as far as, since you work with mainly stand-ups, did you have any inclination at all to do stand-up?
No. It's too hard a job.
That's funny. That's
way too hard a job.
That's exactly what I say. Every time people say to me, do you go up there? I go, no. I said, I can't take that immediate feedback. There's no way.
I can't do that. In college, I would MC shows and stuff here and there for the heck of it, but I would never. It's brutal. I have so much respect for all performers.
Definitely,
anyone that gets up on a stage or in front of a camera that's a harder job than anybody can possibly imagine. But getting on a stage, I always say to people, if you're a singer, you can always go to a standard.
Right.
If your songs are failing, you go to a standard. If you're an actor, you've got a script, behind and other actors to work off of. if you're a stand-up, I mean, if it's going in the toilet, you can't blame the drummer. You know, it's you're screwed. So it's a tough job.
It is. It's. I also envy. You know, I'm of all those people. I don't care if they're good, bad, or indifferent. The fact that they're up there doing what they're doing is very commendable.
Yeah.
Since your parents opened a lot for Johnny, did you get to meet him? I assume?
I knew him most of my life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What kind of guy was he?
He's very private, very nice. I mean, he was great to me. We had a great time. He was, but he was very quiet. I mean, if you were part of his, group, part of his circle, for lack of a better term, he was the best.
Right.
Absolutely the best. But he was a hard person to get into the circle, because he was very Midwest, very close to played his cards close to his chest.
Was he shy?
Very shy.
Yeah, I seem to remember hearing that.
I mean, if this room was just filled with 1 million people, he'd be right over here.
That's exactly where he was I think when Doc Severinsen did the evening at the Improv.
Yeah.
And he came in to watch it after the show. He was right here. Need to take that?
No, I don't.
He was hanging out right here with I don't know who it was, another producer or whatever, and he was just very, pleasant. Nothing.
Yeah, no, he was always pleasant,
yeah.
But he was, he didn't.
He just seemed to be a little shy. Bruce Smirnoff got involved with him.
It's a great story.
Oh, I know.
And it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I know that going down to his house. There's no way I'll tell that story. I'll save it for when Bruce.
I know it, but I let Bruce tell the story. He tells it perfectly.
Well, I've told this part of that story, I guess, a number of times here, but it'd be appropriate to retell it here. When he was in the showroom watching the show get ready, Bud was on stage warming up the crowd, and the crowd was like not laughing at all. And at one point, Bud tells some joke, and he goes, "Well, it's just a little attempt at humor," and Johnny yelled out, "Very little, Bud."
Yeah. No, he always had great. Well, he was one of the great humorists. I mean, he really was.
Oh, yeah.
He was that good.
And quick, very quick.
Oh, incredibly smart.
There was nobody better when you watched the Tonight Show. I mean, it was just sit here. He didn't even have to say anything. He had that old Jack Benny.
He was smart enough to know. I mean, one of the things that's the hardest thing to learn, but if you talk to any successful host, will tell you, is to know when to not talk. So many people that host shows, they think they have to keep talking and do the.
Let me just let the people know that this is the Improv and they're doing some construction upstairs. So, thus the drill. We'll talk a little bit louder.
Exactly, yeah. So he would. So if someone came on and did a killer job and was doing great jokes or telling great stories or whatever, and he would just sit back and let him go, because that's the job of a great host. Because save it, because a night or two later, there's going to be somebody on, an author, an actress, an actor, someone who's going to be a 1 or 2 word answer person, and you're going to have to fill that 5 and 7 to 7 minute segment and keep it interesting and keep the audience interested, and that's where you make your money. I mean, that's where you make your bones, as it were. Because so when someone comes on, like when Rickles would come on, or Bob Hope, or all those, there's groups of guests that he would have on a lot, because he knew they knew how to do it. It was great for him. And if Rickles went on a roll, he could just sit back and go, "That's great. I can relax for a minute, because tomorrow night there's going to be an actress that's going to come in as well. How you like doing your new series?" She's going to go, "I love it." Okay, and he's got to dive in there and do it. That's the hard work.
It's also a confidence that you have in yourself, knowing you do not have to talk.
Yeah, well, I always say to people, don't worry about being the star every second. If it's your show, you're going to be back tomorrow night. They're only on for that segment.
Right.
Then they're gone. Tomorrow night, you're back. People are going to see you again.
I've been watching a number of the video clips online of Carson and Rickles and Dean Martin, and I mean, almost every time the funniest one is Johnny by saying nothing.
Yeah.
By just like
biding his time
yeah.
and finding that one moment to come in. Yeah.
Letting Rickles rip on whoever and Dean do whatever he did, and they're just hilarious moments.
Oh yeah. No, he was a master at it, but he was very, like I said, he was very private, but I was very fortunate because he was very comfortable around my family.
Right.
So he was at our house a lot. And on the road, we would, like when we would be on the road, when we'd do rehearsal in the afternoon, he would get up and do his few cues, which were very short, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then my folks would rehearse, and they would do their numbers. And then Doc and whoever the singer was, which was more often than not, well, it just depended, but it was Phyllis McGuire mostly on the road. But there were other singers as well.
Did your parents ever perform on The Tonight Show?
Yeah, they did it a number of times. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
a bunch of times.
I just, like I told you before, I was in awe of what I saw. I mean, two professionals. I almost, did your parents ever perform in the Catskill Mountains?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Because
all the time.
I grew up in the Catskills, and I could have sworn, I don't remember them dancing, but the name, Bud and CeCe Robinson.
They used to play Gross Singers and the Concord and the Nevele. Those were the three that
then I didn't see
more
them
often
there.
than not worked those three hotels. But
yeah, there was a hotel like about half a mile from the Concord called Gibbers. And which was kind of like the level right below those three that you mentioned. And they had, Rodney Dangerfield, Jackie Mason.
Everybody.
So
everybody played.
Just I always remembered the name. I don't know if it's just catchy, Bud and CeCe Robinson.
They were up there a ton, so that's not surprising.
Somewhere.
That was that's one of the places that I first learned and fell in love with stand-ups, because you would see all these great performers, because the Catskills would use stand-up comedians a lot. You would see these classic, Alan King, who was a really close friend of the family's, but, Myron Cohen. As a kid, I got to see Myron Cohen and people like that, and you just saw the art in it and just their timing and how they knew how to work the crowd and play that crowd, and it was spectacular.
I know. I kind of witnessed the growth of Rodney Dangerfield, because my father was one of the first people to give him work in the Catskills.
Oh, that's wild.
And they knew each other very well.
Yeah.
And so I would watch him as a kid, not getting any response, for a time or two, and then all of a sudden exploding.
Yeah.
With the, I don't get any respect.
Yeah, to get no respect.
Yeah, that they would just go ahead and, I don't know, it just blew up. But, the Catskills were the training ground that you don't unfortunately have anymore.
It's true.
Did you, when you used to hang out here, did you, I assume you found some clients here?
Oh, excuse me, found, many, many, many clients. I found a ton of clients here, made a million friends that most of them are still friends today. Absolutely.
Who that performed here, not necessarily a client, stands out to you that you just saw and said,
wow,
this guy or girl has it?
Richard Lewis. I would wait for every time he would get up. Richard's one of my favorite people as well as performers. Sandler, when he first came out here from New York, Adam. I just fell in love with Adam the first time I saw him. I think it's such a whole long list. I'm trying to think of from the early days here. Jay, of course, Leno. Jay was brilliant the first time I saw him, and gets better to this day.
Well, Jay had already, when I had even started here, Jay was already kind of on his way up.
Yeah, he was, but he was not.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there by any stretch, but
he was doing, I think, Midnight Special, or you remember that show?
Yeah, sure.
He was hosting that.
Yeah.
But he was really one of the only, not only, but one of the bigger names, along with George Wallace and
yes. Well, George. I used to watch George when he would get up here, and he was still Reverend George Wallace, and he would come on with a robe. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Come on with the robe, and of course Jerry. Seinfeld and Jerry still. I mean, he's class act.
No,
and
all of
genius. So all those guys to see them here. Andy Kaufman. I mean, Andy.
Oh,
I would
God,
watch
yeah.
Andy here every night, and just, I mean, the things that I would see Andy do on the stage. I mean, I'll tell people stories because Andy was also a client for a long time.
Was also a client.
And I would tell people tell stories about Andy Kaufman, and I would tell them stories, and they would look at me like, he got on stage and did that. I'd go, oh yeah. Hey.
Well, tell me
that
a
was
story.
a set.
Tell us
Yeah,
a story.
that's really. I mean, people look at me like, seriously? I go, yeah. And a lot of them were before he was Andy Kaufman. He was just, doing it, working on stuff.
Well, a story that I always tell, and I think I've told it 10 times already on the podcast about him, is, Andy always wanted to see what he could get away with.
Yeah.
As far, let's see how far I can push the audience. He brought he gets announced, Andy Kaufman. He has a waitress or a waiter bring him up a table and chair.
Yep.
He sits down, orders food, gets his food, eats dinner, and leaves.
Yeah, and there was like light jazz music playing in the
Yeah,
background.
mm-hmm.
But he did it in real time. He didn't do it quickly.
Oh,
it was
no,
over
no.
a 6-minute period. And he would sit there when she would leave to go get the water and the ice cream. He used to order ice cream. And he would just sit there. And the audience was like on the edge of their seats waiting for him to do something. And he would just look around and, I mean, he wouldn't even like try and trick them like by doing a quick hand motion or anything. He just sat there like waiting for his ice cream, and then they bring him the ice cream, and then he'd pay the check, and that was the end of his set.
And that was it. I know.
One night he brought up, I don't remember who she was. I don't think she worked here. I think she was just a friend. She was an adorable little brunette girl, and it's Andy Kaufman, whatever, and he walked on stage, and she came up behind him, and she just stood upstage from him, and I can't remember if there was light music playing in the background or not. I can't remember, but he would start doing his bit. And she was like go-go dancing, but I mean, she wasn't like in a go-go outfit. She wasn't like a hot babe or anything. She was just like in regular street clothes, and she would just like kind of dance in the background, and then finish the set, and then they left together.
And that was it.
And people were like, "The fuck just happened?"
Well, that was him every single time.
Yeah.
He had, I don't know if this girl was part of his little group, but he had a couple of young girls, by young I mean 20s, whatever, that would just hang out with him and just follow him, and they had these squeaky little voices.
I don't even remember what her voice sounded like, but
well, these girls were like everything was Andy. Everything. You could start, would you like a drink? Is Andy here? Where's Andy? Would you like a drink? Andy will be here later. Oh, we just want to see Andy. And he had his own little, entourage or a little group of people that followed him, and he was just one of the stranger comics.
Oh yeah, he was amazing. But when he did but he had, people like, well, did he just do stupid shit? I go, well, no, his routines were brilliant.
They were.
I mean, they were absolutely brilliant, and
his
planned out, and
impersonations.
his impersonations were unbelievable. But he like you said, he wanted to see how far he could push. Yeah,
He'd probably have.
I think it was one of the nights we had him hosting Evening at the Improv. And one of the routines he did is he had a boil on the back of his neck. It was on a true thing. He actually had a boil on the back of his neck.
This sounds very familiar.
And his bit was they put a table up on the stage.
He lanced it.
Yeah, he was going to get it lanced. But before I lance it, it's like really different colors and all that stuff. So anybody who wants to see it and feel it, come on up. And he had Zamuda. There was a bowl. He came up here, and then he sat at the table, and he would bend over, and he had a mic down here, and then you could come behind him and touch it and look at it, whatever.
Oh my God.
And then you came over here, and there was a tub of water, and you could wash your hands, and Zamuda was there with towels. them to wipe their hands, and that was his routine basically.
Oh my
That night.
God! I was here that night.
And
I know
people
that
came up
'cause
and got out of the audience and just went up to see his boil.
it's crazy what people will do for a celebrity. I don't even know at that point if he had Taxi or not. I don't think.
Yeah, he was
had,
hosting. I think he was just on Taxi. He was hosting that night.
That's like, I had totally forgotten that story, and now I do remember it. And that's the kind of thing. That was Andy. It's like, let's see.
I was in the back going.
When when Bud threw him a going away party.
Yeah.
When he was dying, unfortunately. It's, I think to this day, people think he will come back. People think it was a joke.
I'll never forget when Andy passed, and a year to the day, there was a party at the main room of the Comedy Store. I forget, there were 2 or 3, I want to say Ry Cooter, but maybe it wasn't Ry, but it was some good musicians. And an evening with Tony Clifton. And the place was packed. I mean, it's just packed with everybody in the industry. And I'm telling you, even though we were all 99.9% sure Andy was gone, there was that feeling in the room, and all of us who all knew each other really well. I mean, George Shapiro, all of us, looking at each other like, I swear to God, if Andy had walked from backstage out on the stage, none of us would have been surprised.
No, I'm sure.
It was unbelievable.
Because that is the kind of thing that he would do. I mean, he would disappear and then show up.
Oh, yeah.
To this day, I have the same feeling. I would not be totally shocked if somehow or other he showed up. Unfortunately, we know he won't, but that's the kind of thing
that was
he
the
did.
beauty of Andy. I mean, he built such an aura about himself that to this day, people are like, maybe. It's unbelievable. That's amazing.
The stories around him are ridiculous. I mean, I remember a night where he I think he was dressed in his Elvis thing. He did his Elvis impersonation, and he led the entire audience out the room onto Melrose to whatever you go, a Congo line or whatever.
Yeah.
All out and back like it was just part of the show. And
we were boogieing in colleges, and he would get everybody in the audience of the colleges to do the Lindy Hop.
Maybe that's what it was.
And he would all around the audience and then out around the auditorium and come back. It was hilarious. Oh yeah. And he would marry people in the audience. He'd pick a man and a woman in the audience. I don't know. He might have done it here a few times too. He'd pick a man in the audience and a girl that didn't know each other.
And just marry him.
And then he had a pair of legitimate handcuffs, and he would handcuff them, and then they would have to sit together for the rest of the show, which they didn't mind, right? And he did the rest of the show, and the show would finish, and then
he'd leave without.
And then they'd have to come back to get the handcuffs. We were one time backstage, and I remember we were back and whatever, and Andy's getting ready to leave. It's Bob and all over there, and the promoter or the buyer or the college kid came back and says. The couple hates to bother him, but she has to get home to the babysitter. Does anybody have the key to the handcuffs? And I went over to Andy and said, Andy, you got the key for the handcuffs so we can And he goes, yeah, somewhere. Where are they? Bob, you know where the key? It took a minute to find the key, and then we unhooked him and they went home.
Zamuda probably had it. Zamuda was his alter ego, as you know. It was the two of them together were like. I guess Bob was probably the closest person to him. In all the years.
Oh, absolutely.
Being his his other.
Yeah, he was his
Tony Clifton
he was his
or what
other
have
one.
you.
Yeah, he was possibly Tony Clifton more than Andy was. I mean, it's crazy but true.
Of all the clients that you've had over the years, is there one that you have? This is not a favorite. I would never ask you that, but one that you have nurtured from start to stardom.
Well, I've been fortunate that I've been involved with a lot of wonderful performers from their early days to them becoming household names. So there's it's hard to not one you can pick out. That's sort of unfair to.
Well, I don't
one
mean
out over the other, but
no, I don't mean one over the other. I mean, so if there are several or whatever that have stayed with you forever, for the long haul.
For like many for a very long haul, and I'm very happy that even the ones that aren't with me anymore are still very close with. It's that kind of business that things are fluid, and it's egos, it's
yeah,
a lot of stuff goes on in our business.
Oh, I'm sure.
And which I learned early on that you can't take personally. I mean, now and again there are things that are personal. Those you take personally, but in general, it's usually not.
It's business.
It's business. Their artists have more fragile egos, and they have more crap being fed into them than the average person has, and they have every artist is kind of like the old joke of the guy who has a rug store and has one rug.
Right.
If he sells that rug, he's out of business. Artists get up in the morning and they look in the mirror, and that's their product, and that's what they have to work with. They have to make sure that everything they do works for that product, for lack of a better term. So they always want to stay with people that they think are doing the right thing for them. They want to stay with people that they can move their career forward, what have you. But at some point you wake up, and if some things are going left or going right, or different things happen in your life, a spouse, a friend, whatever, a death, you name it, you're gonna want to make changes, and 99.9% of the time they're not going to look in the mirror and go, I got to change. Now sometimes they do down the road. I mean, but we're all like that. You look in the mirror, you go, it can't be me. It's got to be something else. It's my job. It's my boyfriend. It's my girlfriend. It's my mind.
It's a very
it's that kind of thing. So that's something you can't ultimately take it
personally.
Personally, it's a fluid business, and you
go with it. You go with the flow.
And you know what? There's going to be somebody else,
right.
And that's not to demean the artists,
right, or anybody,
which is not the case at all. I mean, without the artists, none of us are. I'm working behind the bar with you. So,
well, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
And I suck at this. So,
along that point, I'm sure we all know people, actors, comedians, whose brother, mother, sister were their managers, and then all of a sudden they have to go like, I need somebody who can get me to the next level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's
not personal, Mom.
Yeah, but, we've all seen that. Yeah. So,
but we have to move on.
Like I said, I think the thing that I've always enjoyed the most is seeing someone in the early stages of their career recognizing the special quality they have, whether it's comedians or comedic actors, improv actors, writers, or musicians too. I mean, I started in rock and roll for all those years, and watching them reach or even surpass their potential. That's ultimately what makes it the most satisfying. Now, look, there's a different kind of satisfaction, I guess, for lack of a better term, if someone who's already established comes to you and goes, I want you to be involved with me, I want you to help me. Sure. I mean, why not? I'll take a star any day, and so will everybody else. But and that's satisfying as well. But there's a really great, maybe it's a parental thing inside us, that when you see someone that you knew when they were, trying to get on stage, and then they become
successful
superstars.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, it's a nice feeling to say I was a part of helping that become whatever it becomes.
Right.
Ultimately the artist is the arbiter of that, but it's nice to be part of that.
You used to hang out here during the heydays, the 80s and whatever.
This was I lived right up the street here, so I mean, after going out to meetings or tapings or whatever. Many times I just stop here on the way
What
back
kind
to
of
see clients and see friends and
what kind of
whatever.
things stand out to you about that time? I
You
mean,
know, it was a very. What was great is that it was a very communal place. It really was. I mean, like Cheers, for lack of a better term.
yeah, no, everybody knew everybody.
Everybody, you knew everybody, and you could watch also. What was also was fun was you could watch from every level, from the waiters and waitresses and the door people and everybody would move up. You know, I mean, a lot of them became, you know, writers, producers, studio executives, what have you. And you watch the performers, like I said, the guys that were just trying to get on. Then they become stars, and then you watch the next generation come through. That was the fun thing, and you could sit and hang and talk with them, and get to know them as people, and vice versa. Like I said, a lot of my closest friends for my whole adult life came out of this room. I mean,
Well, back then it was so much like a family.
Yeah.
It was the same people every night, thousands of people. I mean, people would just come through.
oh yeah, and it wasn't just comedians. I mean,
No.
obviously comedians are the key, but I mean, you know, you could see
there were
superstar
actors.
athletes, actors, musicians, you name it. Everybody was here. I mean,
And along the lines again of what you said about the staff. I mean,
staff
Les
is
Moonves,
great.
the studio
Yeah.
executive.
Yeah.
Callie Corey, who
Yeah.
wrote Thelma and Louise and is a
Yeah.
director, I believe. There are all these people worked here.
Yeah.
And there are others who I just don't remember. Eileen Kahn, Larry Miller's
sure,
wife.
I adore Eileen. The first day she came here.
And all these people have gone on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And I've gone on to a bigger bar.
Longer one, but
longer one.
that was the fun of it. It was really nice, and you know, the bonus for me was there's also a place that I could usually see my dad and say hi, and then
Right.
that was kind of fun for me
I know
too.
that.
But it was really it was like a little community in here, to be honest.
Yeah, you had,
People would come all the time from after tapings, you name it.
you had all of that. You talk about not just comedians, Sam Shepard, Bruce
Yeah,
Willis,
Bruce was good.
John
Bruce.
Goodman. These people were here like every single night. Tia Carrera.
Yeah.
God, I remember we had
Demi Moore. I mean,
Yes,
yeah. Oh,
we
yeah.
had what was it, karaoke, and Tia's a great singer.
I
And
always tell people the story. When we started karaoke here, on Sunday nights, I think it was, and I always hated the thought of karaoke. I thought, this is obnoxious. But they started it here, and I would be here, and it was like, it's not bad. There's people getting up singing. They were really good. I was like, it's not so bad. So it was fun at coming out dinner or whatever, and see some performers, and then we do karaoke. And then, 6 months or so later, a girlfriend of mine was having a birthday party. It was her birthday, and she goes, I want to go to this restaurant. This is a Japanese restaurant, karaoke bar over in West LA, with like a couple other couples. And I said, okay, I'll meet you there. I mean, why not, Now I'm thinking, karaoke's okay. I get to this fucking bar, and I'm staying there waiting for other people to arrive. And now I'm hearing real karaoke. And it's drunk businessmen and secretaries and what have you. And, after work, and they're fucking god awful.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and then it dawned on me, I'm like, what an asshole I am. It dawned on me, well, of course it sounded great at the Improv. Everybody that was getting up were professionals. They could carry a tune.
What's interesting about that is that we used to have, like you said, all these professional people, and it became intimidating to the people that were whatever.
I wouldn't get up there. Are you kidding me?
I actually did one time with two other people,
Nuts.
and we did Super Freak. And it was like I got a wig from upstairs, and we
hilarious.
just but that's as far as I would go. I would never do it by myself because you had Tia Carrera.
You had everybody.
God knows who else.
Barry, remember?
Barry Rabinowitz?
No, Barry.
Oh, the chef. Yes, Barry Minifield.
Barry Minifield,
oh, my
fucking
God.
awesome singer.
He's the one that ran it. And
awesome singer.
He's making
he's
a living.
He's still in Palm Springs.
Yeah, and he's doing very well as a singer.
He sings his ass off.
Yeah, he was on, what was it? The reality show.
America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent.
I didn't know Barry was on that.
Oh,
really?
yeah, he went pretty far too. I think
great.
he got to the semis or the thing
Barry
right before.
sings his ass off.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He still is. Like I said, he's on Facebook. I see where he's playing it all over Palm Springs, all over that whole area.
Yeah.
And he was a great chef too.
He was a really great chef.
And it was you had him going up there. And again, he's starting off as a pro. It's not just somebody going up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then you go to a Japanese restaurant like you did.
I was like, oh, fucking kill me now. And people came up and said, I can't stay here. This is like knives in my ear. It was horrible.
Oh, they would go
horrible.
crazy. And then we also had like the dance nights.
Dance nights were fun.
The dance nights were crazy.
Before the cops shut it down.
Right. Well,
nobody thought to get a permit.
I know. Isn't that funny? But that's exactly right.
We used to have great dance nights here.
Oh, so I think it was Sundays and Mondays.
Sundays and Mondays, right.
And they would just line up out the door.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just got to the point where they weren't charging admission at first. They had to just to cut back.
The people coming in, yeah.
Because this place was packed.
Yeah.
And as you said, they didn't bother to get a permit to do this. And after 2 years or whatever
it was, somebody walked by and went, do you have a permit for that? Yeah.
No. Oh, you mean we need a permit for this?
Yeah.
But also, again, back then in the days when we had Loretta bartending and whatever, we had dance night on the bar.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have some of our customers would get up on the bar and dance. This was always after Bud left.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Bud wouldn't.
Bud would not like that.
No, Mark, it didn't matter. Mark encouraged that stuff.
Yeah, Bud would not have.
We had. Gwen Keneally and Linda Favilla.
Right.
And all those people, and even Loretta and Barbara, the bartenders.
Right.
It was a era that was just never going to be repeated again, and just because it was a different time. That's all. It's got nothing to do with anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was just the times completely.
The times just kind of changed.
But it was a blast. It really was. And
I wish
the community was it was community, and it was a smaller community too. I mean the comedy business has grown so incredibly, which is a good thing for everybody. All of us, but. It wasn't its infancy necessarily, but it was its early days here.
Right.
And that was the great part about it, is that everybody, it was much more of a family feel. But it was one for all for one. I mean, not that there weren't,
but I think that
fighting like there's always going to be in any situation. But for the most part, everybody were friends and supporting each other, which I think still goes on today, obviously. But it's a nice thing.
All those guys came up together. That because there were, let's say, maybe a total of 250 comics in 1978, 79, and like all those guys came from New York. Jay and Jerry,
Paul,
Larry Miller,
Larry.
George Wallace. All of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Paul Reiser and George, he's like the first person I met when I started working here. And all these guys were just like you said, they were family.
Yeah.
They all were like, supportive of each other.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I was fortunate enough to attend Larry Miller's wedding with Eileen.
Yeah.
And the guys that got up to talk, this was like $1 billion worth of talent. Bill Maher, Jerry Seinfeld, George Wallace. This is the guy's wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And these are all his best friends.
Yeah.
And and you don't have that now only because, as you said, it's so much more widespread.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's everywhere now.
Yeah, there's no just coming from New York.
I was telling to someone a long time ago, they said, I said when I came up, the odds were I knew the name of almost every comedian working, and I probably knew 2/3 of them personally, and that was great. That was, and most of them weren't clients, but they were just friends. A lot of the ones that are still my friends, I never represented just because they were with other friends of mine. But I love their talent, and we all hung out together. We all have mutual friends, so it was it was great. It was that kind of. It was still small enough that the business back then.
That to me is the kind of like the biggest difference between then and now. And again, it's not a right or wrong, good or bad.
No, it's just different
as
time goes on. Yeah, it's like people say, well, Vegas in the old days when the mafia ran it was better. Well, it probably was, but you know what? It's making more money now.
Right.
It's just a different culture.
Because I have found with the comics today that. So many of them are extremely supportive of each other.
Oh, for the most part, absolutely.
Yeah, even the open micers. I have watched guys come out after open mic and go like, I was sucked and this and that, and some other guy would follow them out and go, hey man, it wasn't that bad. It was, and it's one set, stuff like that. Whereas I think a lot of people feel, a comic's going to go, they stab the other guy in the back and all. Maybe
Very
they watched
rarely.
I'm dying up here too much. It's not all like that. Everybody's not cutthroat.
It rarely was, to be honest.
I know.
I can remember a few instances, but very few.
No, I watched, one of the reasons I couldn't continue watching that was because having been there at that time, it didn't happen like that. Everybody wasn't trying to cut everybody's throat.
Yeah.
Sure, like you said, they did.
Oh, now and again there were those.
And that's just life.
Yeah.
But in general, everybody's like, I'm going out to work at in Encino. You want to come out and open for me? It's like, they'll put you up. Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
I mean, one of my favorite ones is to watch. The film about the Boston scene in the early '80s, which is a great film, and it shows it's got video of the early days with Paula and Kevin Meaney and Goldthwait and all the Stephen Wright and all these people. It's a great film, and they all stayed friends. I mean, to this day,
I wish some of those guys would come back. They're still out there. Stephen Wright, I know he's centered in New York or whatever.
Yeah, I know he lives in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, all those guys. They Kenny Rogerson.
Oh yeah.
All these people that are kind of like don't come out anymore.
Yeah.
They just stay in Boston or they stay in New
back
York.
east. They found their
little niche.
their families or whatever.
Sure. They get older and their priorities change. And okay, I'm not going to travel as much. And also, you don't need a particular club anymore to become famous or successful.
Yeah.
It's changed where, I don't have to be a headliner at the Improv or the Comedy Store to be a superstar.
Oh, absolutely true. Well, with the advent of the internet, it opened up a whole new world. So.
Oh, God, I know. We have YouTube people that will headline and you watch a little bit of them and they are horrible, but they sell the room out.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? It is insane.
Yeah, you would think that at least they'd be a little bit funny. And so, I go like, wow, there's a line down the block and around the corner. And we've got sold twice as many tickets as we can fit in there. And then you go in and watch these guys, and you go like, I don't get it.
Yeah, they just want to see them in person.
Yeah. That's the whole thing.
It's fascinating to me.
It's how the business has changed. You probably know a lot better than I do.
Yeah, somewhere along the road, I guess the early days of Paris Hilton and that group, where you became famous for being famous, in essence.
Right.
And then it just went from there.
Well, Danny, thank you so much.
My pleasure. This is great.
Really,
Are you kidding? Anytime, Eddie, for you.
I really appreciate you being here. I mean, the insight is unreal. It's just, you've got, like I said, you predate me, which is really good. And the stories about, I'm going to have to go and watch more video of your father and mother now.
Yeah, they're fun. They were great.
If anybody out there, if you want to see an excellent dance team, Bud and Cece Robinson, look them up on the internet or whatever. There
can find them,
things out there, and they were just phenomenal. And,
thank you.
And your success as an agent has been great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
It's a tough road.
It is.
That is.
It is a very tough road, but I've been very fortunate. I've been able to work with great people and still do. Always loved working with young, new, upcoming people, not only in the business but in the office, and watching them grow and watch performers and stayed friends with all these people. So it makes it fun. I still get a kick out of seeing someone new and saying, "Oh my God, that person is wonderful. I want to see them continue." So
Right.
I hate when people say, the old days. Yeah, I love telling old stories as well as the next person. But when you start doing only that, then you might as well retire.
That's right. That brings to mind, as just an aside, Ricky Nelson had a song called Garden Party.
Yes.
And one of his lines in that song is, because I guess the fans must have been
they
unhappy.
booed him. It's a true story at Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
So he writes the song, and one of the lines is, if memories are all I had to sing, I'd rather drive a truck.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
it's true. Look, the old days were wonderful.
Yeah.
They were great.
Never forget them. Learn from them.
Right.
Remember them and learn from them.
And we go on from there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Great. Thank you
you.
all.
Thanks, Danny. I
Alrighty.
appreciate it. Mike, Lindsay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you next
guys.
time.
I'll edit this part. Let's do like 5 more minutes. Can you
Okay.
ask him about what's different from your perspective between handling rock and roll people and comics?
Okay.
Oh.
And then
Good question.
ask him if are you ever starstruck by your clients? And I'm specifically thinking about a few people, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Like when you're hanging out with Johnny Cash, were you kind of like, oh my God, this is
Right.
Oh yeah. No.
Did you hang out with Johnny Cash?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
God. Okay.
And
Yeah.
June.
Oh, yeah. June Carter Cash.
And June Carter.
So,
Yeah.
Danny, you've been around rock and roll, you've been around comedy. What's the difference in terms of dealing with these different artists in terms of the two different genres?
They're very similar in essence. I mean, it's so funny. Every rock and roller I've ever known, like, is dying to meet and see the comedians I know, and then vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we went to the Grammys, the first year that Louis Black was nominated, and Louis is like me. We're both big music nuts. And he was like, at the Grammys, he's like, oh my God, these musicians, and all these musicians were like, holy shit, it's Louis Black. So the Mutual Admiration Society is a great thing. But people always ask me, you rock and roll all those years, and you comedy, what's the difference between booking rock and roll and comedy? I go, well, comedy is fewer trucks. It's really the main difference, because you deal with the same promoters, the same halls. Instead of rock clubs, you deal with comedy clubs, but some performers, who are not the typical comedy club performer, will play rock clubs too. So
Right.
So it's so intermixed that it's basically the same business. It's just different. The monies are pretty much the same.
Right.
It really is just fewer trucks.
That's interesting, because so many times I have seen rock and roll people here, and just drop in. The most recent was Paul McCartney. Just kind of like from what I was told, he was just driving by, knew the name Improv, saw the Improv, stopped in to watch comedy, and came back 2 or 3 more times after that. I think they, correct me if I'm wrong, but they respect each other's art.
Oh, absolutely.
And they know how difficult it is in each sense to get ahead.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of nice that they do. I forgot, what was the other question?
We don't have to go where I wanted to go. But I was
that's okay.
We've talked about Johnny Cash. And
I
rep him or?
Yeah, we represented Johnny, and you're asking about if do you still get
Ask him,
intimidated by,
like, who are some of the people you represented that are interesting, legendary names, and then just
we'll just go from there.
Are you around somebody sometime and you've been around all these people and you go like, oh my God, this is cool.
Yeah.
You've handled so many celebrities, and you still handle so many celebrities, and when you're around these guys, I mean, is there anybody, or are there? I'm sure there's a number of them where you just go, damn, that's.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. After a while, it depends on the artist. If you've known them for a long time and you've been around them, you sometimes lose that perspective. I mean, having grown up around Johnny Carson, so I was always aware he was this iconic, brilliant artist.
I call it jaded, but
but he was also just the guy that hung out at our house and we were on the road with, and and I knew everybody was coming to the hall to see him, obviously. And when he passed, I remember when everything, they were showing the retrospectives and everything. I was sitting there one night and just it hit me. I was like, oh my God. I was around that. I mean, I was part of that. That's amazing. Johnny Cash was a client of ours forever and ever that Marty Klein represented for most of his career. And so I got to meet and Johnny and June and work with them for years. And two of the nicest people in the world. But you're right. I just joined the company, and Klein says, come on over, Pally. We're going over to, I don't know, Mike Douglas show, whatever, some show. Johnny was on. Great. So we go over to the studio, and we walk to his dressing room, and they say, Johnny's in makeup, whatever, he'll be in just a minute. So we're standing in the dressing room, me and Marty Klein, and all of a sudden the door opens, and there's Johnny, man in black, and he wasn't overly tall, but he was broad. He was, he was a presence. He walked in the room, and you went, Johnny Cash just entered the room. And he walked in, and he looked at me and said, well, hello, Martin. And Marty goes, hey, John, nice to see you. And he goes, John, why don't you meet? This is Danny Robinson. He's one of the new young agents at our office. Danny, this is Johnny Cash. And I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, Mr. Cash, it's an honor to meet you, whatever. I don't know what the hell he said, but something like that. And I'll never forget, John looked down at me, and he was like, well, hello, Danny. And all I could think of in the back of my mind was, Johnny Cash just said my name. It's like, oh, man. There's been a lot of those moments where you meet these people that you just go, wow. I remember meeting Louie Armstrong.
Oh, God.
I mean, when my dad had Doc playing in New York at the Americana, at their it was like the hot nightclub back in those days, and Louie came in see the show, and he got up on stage and did a number or two at Doc, and then we all went back up to the suite upstairs afterwards, and I was hanging out with Louie, and I'm like, fucking Louie Armstrong. And I was like 19, and I even knew that was cool, So look, and again, like I was saying before, it still happens to me to this day when I meet people that I think are really talented that I don't know and that are big stars, whether they're rock and rollers or comedians or hosts, whatever it might be. It's still fun. I still get excited when I meet people that I think are really talented. Yeah. And I think, again, if you ever lose that, that's when you should stop doing it. Yeah. Because, look, Emily, she said jaded earlier. Yes, are we all who've been around a long time jaded to the point of when you do have a meeting with someone, even if you know them, even if they're a big star, they're coming in because they want your expertise and you want to represent them and you want to guide them properly. And it's not a fan club meeting, it's a business meeting. But I don't want to ever lose that, wow, that's so-and-so, That's the little kid. When I met Fred Astaire backstage at the Tonight Show one time, I was like, Fred fucking Astaire.
That's a little kid in you.
Yeah, there's always going to be that little kid in there, and I think that's what makes it fun and exciting to be in our business. Now, the one thing you have to guard against, which I also tell every young person that comes to our mailroom and young managers and whatever, is you have to have that side to you, I think, to do your job properly. The problem is you have to understand how to balance that, because the business we're in is called show business, and that's two words. There's show and there's business. The show is the fun part, and the show is what gets everybody watching, gets everybody in the doors, and all that stuff, and you can never lose sight of that. That's the key. But the business part is what keeps it going. Yeah. And when they come to see us, and when you're dealing with them on that level, they don't care about the show part. A lot of young people, they'll meet rock and rollers or big time comedians, and they try really, really hard to become their friends. And I go, if you become their friends, that's great. A lot of them are my friends, we're actually friends. And that's if that develops to that, that's fantastic. But you want to be friendly enough that they trust you. I said, but they're also, you remember, they have come to you to help them and guide them. You're taking care of their career. That's the one thing they've got. You're feeding them, you're feeding their family, you're feeding their business associates, whatever. You're helping feed them, and you're guiding that. So when you become famous, when you start to become famous, when you become really famous, getting friends is easy. Everybody wants to be your friend.
Right.
Everybody wants to be your friend. They want to know that that guy or that woman is friendly and they like having you around, but they also know that
You take care
you're
of
the one that's
business.
going to take care of them in the morning.
Right.
They don't want you to be the one that's drunk in the corner with them at 3 in the morning, or both trying to pick up the same girl.
Right.
That's never been me, even when I was in my 20s and 30s. Even though you used to see me here late at night, but it
No,
was different.
Danny, I don't remember any of that.
You never had to carry me out.
No, well, no,
But,
that part is true.
But
No.
it really is funny. Even when sometimes you'll be dressed a little nicer than the average Yahoo backstage. I remember a couple of the young, especially the music guys, were like, "Man, why do we have to dress nice?" And I said, everybody's in jeans and t-shirts. I go, "Hey, nobody likes jeans and sweatshirts better than me. I mean, I'd live my whole life in those if I could." But you know what? When you walk in a dressing room and everybody else is like that, and you look just a little bit different, yeah, you might have jokes made about you, and they'll throw some stuff at you. So be smart enough to throw a joke back at them, But remember, that man or that woman or that band that you represent is going to notice that, and then they're going to go off and do whatever they do, and then you're the person that's looking out for them. You're not the person that's hanging out with them just to get a ride in a limo or to meet hot girls or to meet hot guys, whatever side of the world you're on. That they want you to know that in the morning when they've gone out and had a big time and they wake up and go, "What am I making this weekend? Can I afford that new car? Can I send my kids to college?" You're going to be the man or the woman in the office going, "Yeah, here's what I took care of, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
That's what they want. They can get 1,000 people to go get drunk with them.
Right. That's a line. That's a very, very good point. That's a line I see every night. I'll see people that tell me like, "Yeah, I'm so-and-so's manager," and then 10 minutes or half an hour later, they're standing there drunk with their client. I'm thinking to myself, God, it's just not the way it is. I had an agent once that lived in my building years ago, and I realized that there is no way when I see this man, I could be in my bathing suit and whatever, because when he goes in the office and if he's going to submit me, all he's going to think about is, I don't think Ed was up for that today. It's like, he was whatever, he looked like he was tired or whatever. You have to maintain your persona, especially as an agent or a manager. When I see your guys come in here, the APA agents, the Gersh agents, all these people, they always have suits.
Yeah,
everybody.
I mean, you don't have to suit.
No, but it's
you don't have to have a suit and
dressed.
tie on, but you're a businessman.
Right.
You have to be, and it's also just the way you carry yourself. Even if I've come in here, in, jeans and t-shirts 1,000 times, but there's a way you carry yourself, and the way you act around them. So you just you want to be that. You don't want to be, because the longer you hang around, especially in those kind of situations, and if you've had a few drinks in you, it depends on the person, but if you've had a few drinks in you, you're going to either say something that you didn't mean to say.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to hear something that you probably shouldn't have heard. Or someone told me years and years ago, the longer you stick around, the later you stick around, at some point, the artist is going to turn to you and ask you that question that you're not going to have the answer to. And if you'd have left 20 minutes earlier,
you wouldn't have had that.
You wouldn't have had that asthma. And then you're going to be standing there going,
I gotta go.
Yeah. So get in, get out. And again, it's different levels. Some artists you're closer with, and you can hang longer if you wouldn't represent them for a long, long time, and you've built up that.
There still has to be that line.
But it's in general, it takes. I was with a client a few years ago. We were out on the road, whatever, and there was a big nightclub opening, and everybody was excited about going to that. And they were saying, "Hey, you're going to go to the thing after the show?" And they said, "Yeah, we're all excited about it." They said, "Danny going to go with you?" She went, No. Here's how it goes. You finish the show, everything's good. We'll go. Danny will go, everybody good? Everybody fine? You're going to go to the club? That's great. You kids have a good time. I'll see you in the morning.
That's it. There's your line.
And then he goes back to his room, but someone just looked at him and went, you do know him, don't you? She goes, oh yeah, I know. So they know, but they don't care. They don't, at that point, they don't need me to go to the nightclub with them.
Right.
And drink champagne and, you know, one night if I want to, okay.
They have
but
more.
that's not what it is. They're out to have a good time. As the old saying goes, my work is done here. You know?
Right. They have more respect for you in your job when you can draw that line.
I'm
and
looking
go
out
like,
for them. That's
yeah,
my job.
Exactly.
If I want to have a good time, I'll go have a good time.
Right.
And if it happens to coincide with them coming with me,
Fine.
even better. But it's probably better on a night where they're not working.
Yeah, that's the way it should. In my opinion, that's the way it should be, because the relationships get very strained simply because of what you said
all the years. And that's I've had a
question.
million people on SNL through the years, and you know, you do the show, and then everybody knows the after party. And it's always fun, and there's almost always an after party, or they go to a club, or they go somewhere, and invariably people go, "Oh, did you go with whoever it was?" You know, and after
There's this
Fallon or Sandler, whoever I was there with, and I go, "No, they don't want to see me there.
No,
that's not why I'm there. I'm going back to the hotel."
The Saturday
I'm outta
Night
there.
Live after parties become Sunday morning dead.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
'Cause that's
but
that's where you see something that you shouldn't see,
right, and you don't want to see.
and then they know you've seen it, and nothing may happen that moment, but down the road they're gonna go, "Oh fuck, he saw me," whatever. You know, there's lines that shouldn't be crossed, and you want to be careful with that.
Yeah, I agree, and enough people do not always see that, you know,
Yeah.
in your side
Well,
of the
they
business.
get blinded by the show part of show business, which that's what gets all of us initially interested. And there's nothing wrong. You should always want that side of it, but you have to understand how to temper it.
Yeah. Oh, once again, Danny, thanks a lot. I really
Anytime, Eddie.
appreciate it.
It's great to see you
Thanks,
as
guys.
always.
Remember, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Subscribe. Watch.
There you go.
Till next time.